I now call the meeting to order. This meeting of the Haverhill City Council will be held in person at the location provided on this notice. Members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note, while an option for remote attendance and/or participation is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended or terminated if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast unless otherwise required by law. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item on this agenda should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. May the Supreme Legislator grant that we be worthy of our power and responsibility, that we deliberate and achieve with wisdom and understanding, recognizing the rights of all our citizens with full regard for the dignity and justness of the individual. Those attending tonight's meeting should be aware that the meeting is being audio and video recorded by HC Media and audio recorded by WHAV and the Eagle Tribune. Any audience members who wish to record any part of this meeting must inform the council president, who will announce the recording. This is to comply with the Massachusetts wiretap statute. Would you all please join me in rising for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And before we start tonight's meeting, I wanted to ask for a brief moment of silence for Shay Sullivan. Shay is the son of school committee woman Gail Sullivan and Joe LeBlanc. Shay was a longtime English teacher at Whittier Tech and a volunteer with the Haverhill Inner City Boxing Club and Youth Development. He leaves behind his wife, Gabriella, and daughter, Savannah. Thank you. Councilor Bevilacqua, you had the minutes from the May 23rd meeting?
Yes, they were fine. I move they be accepted and placed on file.
Second.
Motion from Councilor Bevilacqua, second from Councilor Sullivan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those will be accepted and placed on file. Councilor Sullivan, would you do the honors for tonight's meeting, please?
I will, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please call up item 17.1?
Councilor Melinda E. Barrett submits the minutes for the Administration and Finance Committee meetings held on March 29th, April 24th, and May 8th for acceptance.
Councilor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I will submit the 29th and the 24th to be received and placed on file. Second.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Barrett and a second from Councilor Bevilacqua.
And as to the May 8th, on that agenda was the salary recommendations from the Salary Commission and inclusionary zoning. Inclusionary zoning is a work in progress still. At the end of this meeting that we had, the mayor's office had suggested doing a housing study, so we're going to have at least one more meeting on, I think just one more meeting on that, to give a recommendation to the council soon. And the other item on the agenda that is of significance tonight is the salary recommendations. And we had a discussion, and we came to some consensus, although not without disagreement. And the motion that came out of the A&F meeting was a motion by Councilor Toohey to make the mayor's salary $150,000, seconded by Councilor Mitchison, and that passed 3-0. And I submit that for discussion for the council to take up.
Thank you. Councilor Bevilacqua.
Thank you. I'm seconding the motion to accept the minutes. I do not recommend the $150,000 salary for the mayor at this time. I support a 125 step at this point, and then we go into the next phase will be another 25. So that would be my recommendation.
Thank you. I don't see any other lights on right now, so why don't we go call the roll on the first motion just to accept the minutes made by Councilor Barrett and a second from Councilor Bevilacqua. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchison?
Yes.
Councilor Barrett?
Yes.
Councilor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Councilor Sullivan?
Yes.
Councilor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Councilor McGonigal?
Yes.
Councilor Rogers?
Yes.
Councilor Toohey?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
Okay, so the minutes are accepted. Councilor Bevilacqua prefers the $125,000
As the first step.
as the first step.
Yes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Councilor Bevilacqua to go to 125,000 as the first step. We have a second from Councilor Barrett. Councilor McGonigal.
Thank you, Mr. President. So what's step 2 and when does that happen?
Step 2 would go to 150,
At what point,
I
Councilor?
think 2 years.
So we'd have to do this again, basically.
Not if you approve the motion this way. If you approve the motion so at 125 to begin, and then 2 years it go to 150, then the motion is established.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor McGonigal. Councilor Lewandowski.
Thank you, Mr. President. What is the reasoning for not going to 150 now?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
We are, we're putting a tremendous burden on the taxpayers this year. We've given them, the city council has voted the highest residential tax increase in decades. There's going to be additional taxes now from the override, the debt exclusion, and I'm just looking for some relief for the taxpayers. The water and wastewater bill that's before you tonight is going to provide the highest water and wastewater rates in a long time. I'm just looking for some relief for the taxpayer.
Well, just as a follow-up question, do you know how much this would raise to 150 would cost the taxpayers versus a raise to 125?
No, but I think that it's a reasonable increase. The 125, I think, is a reasonable increase at this point in time, considering that there are other incidentals which the mayor will receive, other expense opportunities the mayor will receive, that'll increase the salary beyond the 125.
I understand.
We put
Without,
all the benefits together.
no, I understand, but without that data, I don't think I could support 125. I support a raise, most definitely, but I would be voting no for 125.
Well, do you know how much
'cause I
the
think
150 would tax the taxpayer?
Well, that's what I just asked you.
No, I didn't know the 150. You asked him for the 125.
Oh, I don't know what either.
I would have to imagine, I'm just going to jump in here, that the raise is going to be very insignificant to the average taxpayer. If we're talking about 15,000 out of a $245 million year budget,
Right.
or an extra 40,000. I mean, we're talking very, very, very insignificant. I do not have the exact number. We don't have Angel here. Councilor, you're all set, Councilor Lewandowski, I'm sorry.
Thank you. No, that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wouldn't support just going up to 125 either. You know, we don't do this often, and we're not going to do it again in a hurry. 150 was a reasonable number. I still think the 150 is a little low. I think the CEO of a city of 70,000 people and 36 square miles certainly deserves to be paid for the job that they do 24/7, 365. It's really one of the toughest jobs you can have as an elected official. But I can go for the 150. I wouldn't be supporting a phased-in approach for the reasons I just stated, particularly that we don't do this often. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sullivan. I don't see any lights on, so I'm just going to share my comments. First, I think as I stated at the A&F committee meeting, I greatly appreciate the work of the Salary Review Committee chaired by Tom Mortimer, as well as Allison Harquist, Alex Eberhardt, Lisa Marzilli, and Graciela Tria. Their rationale for all of their recommendations made a lot of sense to me. When you look at a comparison to other cities of our size, the move to 150,000 is more than reasonable. The impact of going to 125 versus 150 is on the average taxpayer is again going to be insignificant. I think going to 150 is the right move. I will not personally support going to 125. Yeah, I guess as Councilor Sullivan mentioned, this committee, the previous committee met in 2016 with the idea of meeting every 4 years, and it's been 7 years since this occurred. So I will vote no on going to 125, and if it fails, maybe 150 will pass. So seeing no other lights on, the motion was from Councilor Bevilacqua, seconded by Councilor Barrett to go to 125. Sorry. Okay. CFO Angel Perkins, are you on the line or on Zoom?
Looks like she's
So looks like she's muted. If that's, is she the 508 phone number?
Looks like she's muted.
Angel? At least your computer screen that I'm seeing looks like it's muted.
Yeah, me too. No,
I'm
it's not.
here.
There she is.
Now it is.
Do you have anything on your end, Dave? You can't, it's just, she looks like she's still muted. Okay. Angel,
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. You wanted to comment?
No, my only comment was just to let you know that I'm here.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I think we're all relieved to know that. Thank you very much. So, seeing no other lights on, we're going to go back to the original motion to raise the mayor's salary to $125,000 for the next 2 years, and then go to $150,000 after that. Was made by Councilor Bevilacqua, was seconded by Councilor Barrett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell.
No.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua.
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan.
No.
Counselor Lewandowski.
No.
Counselor McGonigal.
No.
Counselor Rogers.
No.
Counselor Tui.
Yes.
President Jordan.
No,
3 yeas, 6 noes.
that fails.
No. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Oh, wait, that's wrong.
My Sacred Heart's math says yes, that failed, yes.
President, I'll make a motion to go to 150.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor McGonigal and a second from Councilor Lewandowski to go to 150 for the mayor's salary immediately. I see no lights on. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell.
Yes.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua.
No.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski.
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal.
Yes.
Counselor Rogers.
Yes.
Counselor Tui.
Yes.
President Jordan.
Yes,
8 yeas, 1 nay.
that passes.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilor
President.
Barrett, do you want to go to
Yes.
the school committee?
The next item for discussion was school committee salaries. The mayor had sent an email in addition to the commission's report, which said to keep the salaries the same. The mayor had sent a letter asking that we consider moving the school committee salaries to match that of the city council. There was much discussion, there was not much agreement, but we did move it out of committee on a 2-to-1 vote with Councilor Mitchison voting no, to make the school committee salary match the city council salary. As I said, there was much discussion and not much agreement even to this number, if you read the minutes. But we did just move it ahead for discussion for the greater body to take up. I personally don't think that's the number it should rise to. I could see 10, just to throw something out there, but I'm not gonna support 15.
Is 10 are you making a motion for 10? Or
I will for discussion, yeah, I'll make that motion.
we have lots of other lights on, no one's seconding yet, so Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you. I was the one who proposed with the mayor, after the mayor proposed it, actually, I was saying it at the same time, that I thought that the city school committee should make the same amount of money, the same pay as city council. And my reasons are this. The school committee supports and works on 60% of the total budget they control. The school committee, although they meet every other week, meet all the time in negotiation sessions, and they spend hours and hours on end in negotiation sessions. The school committee is just as important as the city council, especially in 2023, especially given what's going on in the schools and all the challenges in public education right now. I just don't understand why we think they should make less than what we make. I understand we represent everything else in the city, but public education takes up 60% of our annual budget. That's a huge chunk that we rely on qualified individuals to make decisions on. And quite frankly, $8,100 to do that job in 2023 is not a lot of money. And I know there are people out there that say we shouldn't get paid anything, and people should just do this because it's the right thing to do. But where are those people? Who would do it for nothing? And who would do it for $8,200? Well, so far we have a handful of candidates, thank God. Good people. But I just don't understand why we don't have equity in the salaries of what city councilors and school committee members make. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is an opportunity to change that. I realize there's not a lot of support for that, but I'd like to make a motion that we increase it to $15,000 so that we're all on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McGonigal.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I would like to fall somewhere in between that. Now, we have two motions on the floor. Is that what we?
We have two
said?
motions,
Nothing?
neither one has been seconded yet.
I would make a motion to move that because I do value their contributions and they do a lot of hard work and I would be willing to go to 12,000. I think that would be a fair jump, and that's what I would recommend at this point. That would be a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Counselor McGonigal for 12,000, seconded by Counselor Lewandowski. You all set, Counselor McGonigal?
I am, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Counselor Tui.
Thank you. I just want to echo what all my colleagues said, and speaking from personal experience, along with Councilor Bevilacqua, we just looked at a budget that was presented to us for $127 million. We're talking about increasing the mayor's salary to $150, and as Councilor Sullivan indicated, I mean, it's $127 million, and getting paid $8,000 a year in 2023 is not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. The amount of time, again, I speak from personal experience. I think Mr. Bevilacqua will echo what I'm saying. Hours and hours of work. Just because I think the perception out there is when you meet twice a month or what have you, you think that you're really not working as much as we do. And I'm going to tell you firsthand, this is my, obviously my second budget, and looking back on the experience as far as time committed to the job, forget about, going to events, doing campaigning or doing all those things. There's absolutely no question about it. The school committee works more. There's absolutely no question. Just look at the last negotiations on the teacher negotiations. It was public, it was drawn out, it was contentious. That's just what you see in the newspaper and on camera. What you forget about is after a long meeting on a Thursday night, then it goes to which lasts potentially 2.5 hours, and the mayor's here, he can attest to it as well, then it goes to executive session for another 2.5 hours. That's just on a Thursday, let alone any other negotiations, taking time out of work during the week, etc. So I don't want to really, beat the proverbial dead horse, but at the end of the day, there's absolutely whatever this council wants to do as far as compensation, that's one thing, but there needs to be an increase, whether it's 10, 12, 15, obviously it's up for us to decide, but I would support, if you're not going to do 15, I would certainly support 12. I would not support 10, I would say 12 or 15 at the minimum. That's my 2 cents. Thank you for letting me speak, Mr. President, and yield back to you.
Thank you, Councilor Tui. Seeing other no lights on, I'll just share my comments. I'm just going to read from the report prepared by the committee that did the analysis. The Salary Review Committee also reviewed the school committee salary. There were 32 communities in the survey pool. Based on their responses, the Haverhill School Committee member salary of $8,000 is higher than the survey average of $5,082 and the median of $5,000. $8,000 is approximately $3,000 higher than the average and the median, and ranks 7th in the survey of 32 communities. I do not doubt in any way, shape, or form that our school committee members work hard and that they do a good job. I just have a real tough time with the optics that our teachers are not paid in the top 50th percentile, even despite the raise that they recently received. It's below that. Our school committee currently is paid in the top 25%, and we want to give them a raise. In this case, if the $12,000 motion would be roughly a 50% raise from the current salary. So I think the optics of it are awful. If we want to get serious about paying the teachers more, then I think we can certainly talk about that. So I will not be supporting the motion. Councilor Sullivan.
I just want to say I would support the 12,000. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have the motion made by Councilor McGonigal to go to 12,000, seconded by Councilor Lewandowski. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell.
No.
Counselor Barrett.
No.
Counselor Bevilacqua.
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski.
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal.
Yes.
Counselor Rogers.
Yes.
Counselor Tui.
Yes.
President Jordan.
No.
6 yeas, 3 nays.
That passes. Thank you. Councilor Barrett, anything else?
And we also had put on our agenda, the recommendation from the commission was to cut the option of health benefits to both the school committee and the city council. We had much discussion. The mayor also recommended in his letter that we leave the health benefit available to city councilors and school committee. We had much discussion and no consensus. So there was a motion made by Councilor Tui to leave the benefits as they currently are. There was no second. it's only a three-person body, so. And I was the chair, so I, by
not
right,
second.
could not second. So we made the motion failed, so there was no change proposed. So basically, we're leaving it the same as recommended from the committee.
Thank you. I did speak with City Solicitor Cox. If someone wanted to put a motion forward, it could be entertained despite there was no recommendation from the subcommittee, but I don't see any lights on.
I'd make a motion, but I'd make a motion to keep what we have now, which is the optional health insurance. That would be my motion.
Okay?
Second.
Motion from Councilor Sullivan and a second from Councilor McGonigal. I see no lights on. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevelacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers? Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
No.
8 yeas, 1 nay.
That passes.
And Mr. President, there was one other item on that agenda, and it was about the process of private for-profit organization using public property. It was an older item that was on the A&F list for a while, and it was an item that Councilor Masick had put on. And basically, we do have a system for allowing for-profit companies to have access to the city to do their business. They must come to council for approval. They have to add a sidewalk bond or to add us to their insurance policy. And they must tell us the locations in which they intend to set up and solicit. They also need to work with the city clerk's office and any inspectional services and the police. So we have a good procedure in place, and there was no need to make a recommendation to the council as there one that already exists. So, and that is the end of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, back to the regular order of business.
Returning budget orders submitted May 15th of 2023 and placed on file May 23rd meeting. See unfinished business number 15. Order the following changes be made to the FY 2024 mayor's budget proposal. I'm going to go through all of them. Appropriation increases, Little River Dam match, $73,901, fire station feasibility study, $50,000, recreation department salaries, $2,000, city council administrator, $1,500, library salary correction, $1,400, economic development salary correction, $19,619, Brightside, $3,000, full-time IT technician, $25,000, salary increase for custodian, $9,308, school department, $1,820,000. School department, $1,630,000. Fire department salary reserve for additional firefighters, $305,000. Diversity consultant, $30,000. Redundant internet connection, $18,000. Increase to clerks union, $42,000. Increase to dog officers, $5,000. Extra road for paving and sidewalks, $1 million. Funding for grant match on EV charging stations, $200,000. Grant writer funding, $120,000. Subtotal, $5,356,728. And then on the following page, appropriation decreases, reduced street light maintenance appropriation, $40,000. Reduced funding for capital projects manager appropriation, $75,000. Reduced mayor salary appropriation, $20,000. Reduce city council travel expense appropriation, $1,500. Reallocate retiring hail debt appropriation, $3,144,000. Prorate health inspector appropriation, $20,000. Prorate HR technician appropriation, $10,000. Prorate DPW head clerk floater appropriation, $10,000. Reduce tree funding appropriation, $50,000. Reallocate snow and ice reserves appropriation, $600,000. Subtotal, $3,970. $3,970. Gosh, lots of numbers. So excuse me while I get it all in order. $3,970,500. Revenue increases, net increase in Senate budget, Cherry Street revenue, $173,449. Increase Medicaid revenue, $200,000. Use free cash and other available revenue source, $1,012,779. Subtotal, $1,386,228. That's it.
Mayor Fiorentini.
Thank you very much. I want to start by thanking the city council for working with me and Thank you for recognizing. I've been underpaid for years. I've never asked for a pay raise, but I certainly appreciated you recognizing that tonight. When this pay raise first came before me, oh, I don't know, years ago, 100 years ago when I first took office, I vetoed it. But I'm not going to veto this one. I vetoed it because we were laying off a lot of people at the time. Just wasn't an appropriate time to get a pay raise. In any event, Mr. President and members of the council, I'd like to thank the council for working with me. This is the first time in 28 years that I missed a single budget meeting. Seems to have worked out better when I didn't come. We'll probably do that in the future. The budget and the budget amendments that are before you reflect my point of view. That with the Hale debt now gone, or at least parts of it are gone, with the Constantino payments not starting yet, this is the time to invest in our city, in our schools, and most importantly, I think, in our infrastructure. I'd like to talk just a moment about the budget itself, then about the amendments that are before you tonight, and then I want to follow up on something that's near and dear to me, something that was touched on last week. You didn't use the words, but Councilor McGonigal and Councilor Bevilacqua, in effect, talked about performance standards. You did, Councilor Bevilacqua, when you asked the superintendent, were all these increases in the school department working to improve standards? And you did, Councilor McGonigal, when you said, well, we have somebody we're hiring to do grants. Is it working? And should we pay them appropriately? Those are all called standards, and I'd like to talk about that. Let me talk first about the overall budget. This is my 20th and last balanced budget in a row, balanced without an override or any cut in vital services. A big part of this budget has to do with increased revenues. Overall city revenue is up by $13 million. That's a 5.8% increase. Of that $13.5 million increase, $12.1 million of it, 90% of the increased revenue, went to the school department. I know there are people who like to see 100% of it go to the school department. Schools are the most important thing we do, but they can't be the only thing that we do. A big part of the increased revenue came from the Student Opportunity Act. The second biggest part of our increased revenue, $3.8 million increase, came from raising taxes by 2.5%. State aid to cities, not to schools, went up by 1.6% in the House budget. I thank the Senate for recognizing that's not nearly enough, and by increasing that to 3.2%. And you see, we use the Senate numbers, and I hope they turn out in conference committee in putting the budget together. Of the local revenues, things like fees, motor vehicle excise tax, meals tax, hotel tax, parking revenue, they all held about steady. So our revenues are up, but unfortunately our expenses also went up, and in some cases by more than our revenues. Let me just go through some of them that went up, because I think it explains why we can't do everything we all would like to do. Municipal health insurance costs were up by 7%. As you all know, we can only raise local taxes by 2.5%. So when our expenses go up by 7%, we have a problem. Trash disposal costs were also up by 7%. Citywide, schools and city, salaries were up by 5.9%. Utility costs were up 8.8%. And overall benefits, health, workers' comp, et cetera, were up by 6%. So to balance the budget, we had to do two things. First, we had to cut the requests from the various departments by a little over $4 million. There wasn't a single request that I got that I thought was frivolous or ridiculous, but budgets have to balance. That's not only good practice, it's the law. The second reason we're able to balance the budget and invest more in our city is because this year, for the first time in 20 years, we didn't have the major portion of the Hale debt hanging over our heads. We still have parts of it. We still have the pension and health care. But the building is gone, and the operating debt for the first time is gone. So as you'll see in the amendments, we're allocating $3.1 million in money that had been used to pay the Hale debt in order to increase our investment in the city. By working hard over the years and paying off the Hale debt, we did it, and now we're able to invest more in our city. Let me tell you a minute about the budget amendments that are before you, and again, I want to thank the council for working with me on this. This year, as every year, the council didn't cut from my budget. but they did give me a list of things they'd like to add to the budget. We were able to do this because of the retiring Hale debt, but in the future, and I'm being frank here, this isn't going to work. I would encourage whoever's here in the future, for future budgets, to go back to the way we did them years ago when Councilor Mitchison and I were on the budget, and the way that I believe our charter requires. Make some cuts, reasonable cuts, and then work with whoever is mayor to reallocate the money the way you think the priorities should go. Just asking for more money is not sustainable in the future. Let me go through some of the proposed budget increases. They're noted on the first page of your agenda. Some of these came from the council, some came from department heads, and some from me. The first increase in expenditures, and to me the most important one that I initiated, is to increase road and sidewalk improvements by an additional $1 million. You remember my original budget increased road and sidewalk improvements by a little over $300,000. I'm proposing tonight we add $1 million more to that. Now, traditionally, cities and towns rely upon the state for money to pave streets. This is called Chapter 90 money. Chapter 90, for the past 4 or 5 years, has been level funded, despite our best efforts of mayors to increase it. But the cost of doing roads has not been level funded. That's increased by around 30%. That means if we only use Chapter 90 money, we can pave 30% fewer streets than we could just a few years ago. That's not acceptable. Our roads can't wait until the legislature increases Chapter 90, and I hope they do it soon. We need to act today. So I'm asking you tonight to increase the amount of money for road and sidewalk improvements by an additional $1 million. We've been working on an assessment assessing all of our roads and our sidewalks, and we hope to begin as soon as we can. We've hired an outside company to do this, to come in with a road and sidewalk plan. My hope, my goal, is that when I leave office, the roads and sidewalks of this city will be in the best condition they've ever been in, and that you're left with a plan on how to keep them that way. That's my goal, that's my plan. The biggest increase dollar-wise is for the school department. The second amendment, this is the second amendment I'm proposing for the school department. The first amendment that I proposed during the budget process was to make certain the school budget was level serviced, not level funded, level serviced. The schools have added a tremendous increase in service over the past few years, and the first amendment that I filed would have level serviced them. This second increase, you recall when the schools came before you, they asked for an additional $1.6 million, as the school committee did. This gives them the whole $1.6 million that they've asked for, everything they've asked for. We didn't cut anything. And this will enable them, we hope, to improve our schools, make them better, and increase performance standards. Let me talk about the fire budget. I know that's important to many people on the city council. The original budget I sent you funded the staffing increases recommended in the first year of the study that we had done, which was to add 4 firefighters at the High Street Fire Station. We've actually been doing this for some time using overtime. The study did not say that we should immediately increase staffing at the Water Street Fire Station. Here's what it said. In the midterm, 3 to 5 years, the city should consider assigning 1 additional firefighter to the Water Street Engine Company, 4 total. The report goes on to say, could be 4 firefighters transitioned from the alarm division if the transition to civilian dispatch becomes a reality. There's nothing in the study that says we need to do it now, and there's nothing in the study that says we can't or shouldn't take them from dispatch. But nevertheless, we have a lot of increased financial strengths now, and I recognize how important this is to the city council. So I've included funding in the budget to provide additional staffing at the Water Street Fire Station, starting on July 1, to have 4 additional firefighters. Now, as I think all of you know, I don't recall if I went through this or not, but I think all of you know, we put in for what's called a SAFER grant to increase firefighter staffing by 16 firefighters. I'm told we have a reasonable chance of getting the SAFER grant, but it's no guarantee. If we get the SAFER grant, that will supply the additional staffing at Water Street and at High Street. If we don't get it, then we'll proceed to a more permanent solution at Water Street, either by hiring more, transitioning firefighters from dispatch. But my pledge to you tonight is there will be 4 additional firefighters at Water Street, the Water Street Fire Station. Either way, we're going to do this, but it's going to create financial challenges for whoever stands here and whoever sits there in a year. If we get the SAFER grant, we don't pay anything for 3 years in a row, but it will not be sustainable in 3 years to keep 16 additional firefighters and to keep them on the city payroll. I don't think it'll be sustainable to build a new fire station, and there's no federal or state funding to do so. Although there is a move on at the state, I support it, that would supply some state funding to build police and fire stations. If we want to build a new station, then we're going to have to think about how we pay for it, and this will be the challenge of the incoming administration, mayor and city council. How do we meet that challenge? Now, challenges brings me to my favorite topic, performance standards. At the last council meeting, Councilor McGonigal, you asked, can we tie the salary of our grant writers to their success? That's a performance standard. And Councilor Bevilacqua, you asked the superintendent a very poignant question. Did all this increase in school spending result in an increase in performance? Again, that's a performance standard. We have a lot of increases in the budget. It is not sustainable to increase the budget by this amount every year. And in addition, you all now know, from the superintendent told you, about the fiscal cliff that these schools are going to go over in a year. They've used their one-time money, over my strong objection, and several other school districts did the same thing, not all of them, to hire more staff. Next year, that one-time federal money is gone. Whoever's running the city is going to face $8 million less in revenue for the schools. I call that the fiscal cliff, or the ESRA cliff, that schools are going to go over. You're going to have that challenge, whichever one of you are here in a year. And you're going to have to determine, how do you meet that cliff? What do you do, and how do you do it? Part of our job as a city will be to step up, but it also be the job of the state and the federal governments also. We should all work. We're giving the schools and everybody else a lot of money, and we all need to work on standards to judge, is this money working? Is this the right thing to do? At the last school committee meeting, start with the schools, the superintendent outlined the very dramatic increase we've had in school funding over the past several years. In response to your question, Councilor Bevilacqua, she then went into the performance improvement. There has been improvement in graduation rates, but dropout rates have gone the exact opposite way that we had hoped for. The dropout has increased, not decreased. But overall student performance, as measured on standardized tests, has not improved, despite the dramatic increase in funding. If you look at the period from 2017 to 2022, that's 5 years, per pupil spending went up by 30%. We should all be proud of that. We narrowed the gap between ourselves and the state. I'm not sure that's a right measure. I think we should be measured against gateway cities, but it's the measure a lot of people use. We narrowed that gap. We increased funding by 30% per pupil. What did it do with student performance? If you look at reading levels in the 3rd grade, there was no change whatsoever, 0. We were exact same level that we were in 2017 in grade 3 reading levels. So next year, you're going to have a challenge, and whoever you're sitting here, you're going to have to ask, did the increased funding that we're giving the schools this year, did it work? Are there programs that did work and don't work? Are there programs, because remember, you're going to have a cliff. You're, in all probability, going to have to cut something. What worked and what didn't work? This will be the challenge of a future mayor and a future city council. Let me talk about some other challenges. We need to ask, with every increase that I'm proposing
Mayor,
tonight.
Vice President Mitchinson has a comment just related to just something you just said. Do you mind him just asking it now?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I agree with you wholeheartedly on the performance measurements. You know that we had a study done where Brandeis came in and made recommendations on how the city could actually apply performance management across the whole city. I agree with you completely on that. However, your analysis is a little shallow in the sense that it really requires a cause and effect right, analysis. It's not as simple as just looking at, did the scores go up because we put this amount of money into it? It really requires more analysis, which I agree with,
Thank you.
that we should do.
I agree.
I just want to add one thing on that, just to be clear. I agree with that, and a big thing that you're leaving out in that, and I'm all for metrics 100%.
Good.
Third grade level reading did improve from 2017 to 2022. 2020, there was a pandemic.
Yeah.
That was a major factor that threw us back by years. So
Well,
to throw that out that as if that, not mentioning that is a big, big omission. But
It went up and went down.
Okay.
The bottom line, it ended exactly where we started.
yeah, but you're kind of making it sound like as if the money didn't do any good. We could make the argument, and I've heard it made on the school committee level, is that if they didn't pump the extra money in, they would have been dramatically behind.
I think your challenge next year will be to figure out what's the proper metrics, how do you measure it, what's the proper data. You never want to go by anecdotal data. You always want to have, setting the standard will be the most important thing. I think one thing is completely clear to me, which is that increasing per pupil spending in and of itself, by itself, without standards, without changing anything, doesn't necessarily need to increase performance. Maybe it will, maybe it does, but it's clear that just by itself, it doesn't automatically do that. Highways and sidewalks. These are other challenges. I think you need to know, I'm proposing we increase it by a great deal of money, both with ARPA money and with this budget. But as sure as I'm standing here tonight, I can assure you that what you're going to face in the future are going to be decreased revenues. I don't know if it'll be next year, 25 years from now, but it's going to happen as sure as the sun comes up. And you need to look at everything, sidewalks, schools, everything, and say, is it working? Are these the right performance measures? It's a little harder with sidewalks and streets than it is with schools. Schools have standardized performance measures. Sidewalks and streets don't. We're going to work very hard to develop them, and I hope to be able to leave you with some. But one of the things that I've asked all of my staff to do is give me some measures. Tell me, for example, with potholes. We've set a standard that if somebody calls in a pothole, within 3 business days, it's to be fixed. And we measure that, we work at it. And they meet that almost every time. Not every time, there were things that happen. Some potholes aren't really potholes, they're underground piping. But those are the types of standards that we want to look at. How much did we pave? How many sidewalks did we fix? Are we getting the right bang for our buck? Those are the things that we're going to need to look at. Fire department standards are very difficult. One of the challenges, we are giving the fire department a good deal more money. The traditional justification for going from 3 firefighters per truck, which is the norm everywhere in this area, to 4, which is what we're going to at Water Street and High Street. One of the standards is it reduces firefighter injuries. We're going to have to take a look at that and see if that actually works. In the long run, we can't do everything we want to do, so we need to develop standards. We're making some major investments in the city in the budget. The rate of increase is not sustainable. We can't, and I don't want to give the impression that whoever's here, whoever's there next year, can give the same type of increase, because they can't. But hopefully we can keep these measures that I proposed tonight in the budget for this year and next, and we need to develop standards, see what works and what doesn't. And here, I'm available for questions.
Councilor McGonigal.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe in standards, I believe in metrics. When you run your own business, you learn what makes sense and what doesn't, and what gives you the bigger bang for the buck, and you try to repeat that and eliminate the mistakes or eliminate the areas where you were not getting better, even though you're putting more revenue in. And through this budget process, it was very nicely done. Ms. Perkins did a great job. Your office did a great job. The clerk, Mr. President, everyone seems like we had a better process. There's one big thing. And it's
Better
not-
process because I wasn't here this year.
Mayor, I'm gonna wait till you leave before I really start talking about you. But there's one
I
thing,
was
Mayor.
well represented by a great staff.
So there's the elephant in the room for me, for this city, and what we have coming at Whittier, J.G. Whittier School.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Mayor, I can't help but think, if we could do something with that $3.5 to $4 million to buy those 6 rooms, it's gonna pay dividends down the road. It's
Oh,
gonna help
J.G.
us.
Whittier or Whittier Tech are you talking?
J.G. Whittier.
J.G. Whittier.
And I really think it's not short money, 4 million isn't short money, but, Mr. Mayor, we're looking at maybe 8 to 10 years before that school, and that's from Assistant Superintendent Piffering said that's a pretty accurate scenario of probably how that's gonna go. Before you leave office, you could set this city up for the next 20 years by finding a way, sir, to get that $4 million so we could get that site work done and we can get those classrooms. And then, I mean, that's 10 years anyway, that's really gonna bail us out.
Sure.
And then after that, they're reusable, their shelf life is supposed to be around 25 years. So I really ask you, if there's a way, I think that would set up the city for the next 10 to 20 years, and I think it's.
The answer is probably. I met with the superintendent today. I've been up there. I've toured the school. I've looked at it, and we will definitely come in with a proposal before Labor Day. My first choice is to build a new school. I've submitted an application to the Mass School Building Assistance Board. This is the second year we've submitted it to build a new school there, and that's my first choice. I was on the phone yesterday making a lot of phone calls saying, can we up it? Can we make this go faster? Can we get that done? I think that should be our first choice. The answer probably is no, unfortunately. I don't think we can get that done. I don't think we can do it in time, unfortunately.
I think that's right. If we listen to the assistant superintendent, he's done this for a while, and that's just never done. You don't have 2 in the pipeline because of so many communities looking for the same thing. So I think
My
we can
argument
fix
to-
this.
yeah.
We can
I-
fix it with opera money, I think, and I know there's probably $1 million or so unencumbered at this point. And, you know, I see us doing, I know how you like roads and sidewalks, but there's $1 million for that. If we have $1 million in opera and $1 million here, that's $2 million. That's half this paid for. And this is gonna be over, this is gonna
as I
take
said,
care of us for 10 or 12 years.
I will come in with a proposal between now and Labor Day. That's my pledge to you. My first choice is to build a new school. I unfortunately do not think that's going to happen. I'm the one that repeatedly said here, we can't build 2 at the same time.
Right.
You remember my conversation with the previous counselor who said we should go for 2, and I said, no, they're not going to do it. My argument to the MSBA yesterday and tomorrow is it's not going for 2 at the same time. We've been in the pipeline for Constantino for quite a while. The state just gave you an extra $100 million. Can we do, it's not really doing 2, because Constantino, we've already found a way to fund it. We have the money. We're going to break ground in December or January. If we get started on J.G. Whittier now, by the time we get it done, by the time we get it started, Constantino will be done. Unfortunately, again,
And I really feel like.
I don't think we're going to be successful. I'm being honest with you.
No,
I'm gonna make
and I
the
don't
pitch.
think we are either, Mr. Mayor. I think that's accurate. But I think with what was opera, $38 million or.
I think we should bond it rather than use ARPA money. My second choice, well, the second thing we should look at is building an addition on the school. We did have I had a talk with the superintendent today. She's going to go out with some people and take a look at that over the next few days. If we can do it, great. If we can't, then we will go for the portable classrooms. And I'll come in with a proposal between now and Labor Day.
Okay. All right. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McGonigal. Councilor Vice President Mitchell.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So I also support the process, Mr. Mayor, that you just outlined to try to solve that issue at Whittier Middle School. I don't think there's an ideal solution there,
Well, having kids
unfortunately.
in portable classrooms is not ideal.
That's not, and it's pretty expensive, right? But until there's an alternative to solve
Which I'm
the
being
space
honest with you,
problem.
I don't have an alternative right now. I've looked, and maybe I should have looked more quickly, but I've been up to the school, I've toured it. I hired Paul Bergman, all of you know him, to go up and say, look, is there some way to make the locker rooms, can we make them into offices? Can we make them into classrooms? Is there some way we can redo and remodel the school? And the answer, I think, is no. I think it's worth looking at. You always want kids in classrooms if you can. It's looking more and more like the portable classrooms is the way we're going to have to go, but we'll see.
And this has come up several times, reimbursing the school system for the recovery high school students for their tuition, which is about $100K, and then the PASS program,
The short answer is no, I will not do that.
which is about $250. So that's about $350.
Nope.
And the question is,
Yeah.
why not use opioid settlement money or the excise tax from cannabis?
Well, excise tax from cannabis means we take something out of this budget, because that's budgeted, that's what it is. It means we cut something else, policeman, fireman, clerk's office, something. That's what it means. The schools have got every single penny that they've asked for, including an increase in their reserves of $1 million. We gave them everything. We didn't cut a single thing. No other department in the city came anything remotely close to that. In fact, I want to commend the police department, which when I said, look, we've got a budget hole and I can't meet it, they said, well, here's what you can cut. We're not going to be able to hire every police officer would like to. Cut something, don't cut them, but cut something from the salaries. Every department stepped up and we made $4 million worth of cuts. Nothing, we did not cut the schools. Every single penny that they asked for, we gave it to them.
There is a lot of money, though, that's unallocated with the opioid settlement. And I
my-
think
my-
we need to use it.
Sure. My preference for the opioid money is that we have direct counseling. That's what I believe would be the best thing. If we can't do that, if nobody bids, then sure, we'll take a look at something else.
Okay, a couple of other comments. So you and I have been working this since 1995 as colleagues on the city council, and the 14 out of the 20 years that you were mayor. And I think this is your best budget.
You do?
I do.
Thank you.
I do.
I think they've all been great.
And what I don't want to do is really say much more until we actually get through this, and
Okay.
that there aren't any changes, and that we vote for it. But I think it's a solid budget
Thank you very much.
that I'm going to support. The second thing that I wanted to ask, it's more of a warning, I think, for the future. When you were bringing up the whole notion about performance management, I just want to let whoever the next mayor know that if I'm lucky enough to be sitting here next year, I've got a long list of things that I tried in the last 20 years that I'm going to retry.
Performance measures?
Performance measures being one of them.
Absolutely. I'm all for
So
it.
we can expect a couple of presentations, couple of PowerPoint presentations. If I'm lucky enough to be here. Thank you very much, Mr.
I like
President.
the idea of performance measures.
Thank
if I
you,
like the
Mr. Vice
PowerPoint.
President. Councilor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Councilor Mitchison, if you could just increase the font size on your PowerPoint. There would be a lot less bitching. Mayor, I want to thank you for the budget. This is probably at least the best budget process I've been experienced in my 5 terms. Everybody worked together this time. There's no fighting tonight. That's refreshing. Everybody didn't get what everybody wants, but nobody ever does. This budget raises expectations. As you've mentioned, gonna be some serious challenges next year, and there's gonna be a whole new cast of characters. It's gonna be fascinating, having a combination of ward and at-large counselors, many who are just gonna learn what a budget is for the very first time.
I can't say I'm not nervous about that, I am.
You wanted it. Don't forget it.
I know.
Yeah,
I like my wife.
yeah. But it's a good change.
Sometimes I say, who
It's a
thought
good
of
change.
this? And she said, you did.
It's a good change. It's going to take time. We'll
I'm sure it'll work out
all be
eventually.
fine.
I'm a little nervous about
But
it.
it'll be a
right
learning curve. It's important that
nervous.
there be a combination of new and old. Having said that, I intend to support this budget. I wish there was more in here for things that I value. I did ask you for a couple things. I didn't get them. One of them would have benefited the firefighters, but we'll deal with that another day.
I might have a solution to that one. I'll talk to you about it.
All right, thank you. So I just want to let you know, I do appreciate everything you've gone through, everything we've gone through. This was a much more pleasant process this year, and no kidding, it was good that you weren't here.
Councilor Sullivan,
The
you
staff
didn't-
did an incredible job. They really did an incredible job, and the
have a
budget
one-
document itself is a primer for anyone running for city council who doesn't really understand what we do. They should get a copy of that budget, because there's a lot of narrative in that budget that explains what a councilor's job is in the budget process. It was the first time we ever had that, and it was a good thing.
I give 100% of the credit to our CFO. I'm pointing to the screen, but she's not on it. Angel Perkins. She did an absolutely outstanding job with that.
She really did.
Councilor Sullivan, you didn't get everything you asked for, but over the years, you're probably batting 95%. Not a bad batting average.
No, it's not. Thank you for everything you've done for me and for the city. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Sullivan. Councilor Bevilacqua.
Thank you. I think this has been the best process, Mr. Mayor, this year. I think that the budget does things that we've asked for. You know, I fully support, as a former school committee member, the school department additional funds, but I also support asking for some type of standard so the taxpayers will know if the investment met and made a difference. And unfortunately, pre-pandemic, our test scores were not good, as well as during the pandemic. So we have a history, unfortunately, of not making the types of improvements that we need. And why is that important? Anybody can get a graduation diploma, but when these kids leave school, they're going to be competing either to go on to school or to a career. And they're going to be competing against a worldwide audience for jobs. And we want to make sure they have the absolute best opportunity. And that's why scores are important. Kids have to read, or else they're going to be a dropout. They have to speak English, or else they're not going to be able to succeed. And I talk to immigrants nearly every week from all over the world, people who come here not knowing English, and yet they struggle through it and they learn it because they tell us they have to. And then they work, and they work to support their families, to put them through school so they'll have a better life. So I'm hoping that, and again, I supported giving the schools every single cent they've asked for, the largest school department budget in its history. I am hoping that when someone comes back here and gives us the report, they'll say, this is what made the difference. I supported the additional public safety money for our firefighters. That's critically important. We want to make sure that Haverhill is a safe city with our police and our fire. And I think they do a tremendous job, and they should be recognized for that. The men and women in the police department, the men in the fire department, maybe someday women will be joining you, I don't know. But I think it's important that we recognize that our city is growing. We need to make pace. We need to keep pace. But remember one thing. There's something that's never really discussed, unfortunately, during the budget season. You know, I bring it up all the time, and that's the taxpayer, the person who pays the bill. And that's critically important. We've seen, as our counselor talked about earlier with one of our prior meetings on schools, you know, I've been in the school building committees for 5 schools now Constantino, and the state has now capped how much money it will give for a school reimbursement. What that means is that our taxpayers pay the difference. We need to make sure that the taxpayer can keep to live in the city of Haverhill, and not just the seniors who want to spend their retirement years here, but the young working families who want to grow here. That's critically important. So I support this budget, but I also support when whoever comes back, whoever the mayor is in the next year, along with the next council, whoever they may be, that they can show that this investment has made a difference in so many ways. The other thing I want to leave, just a word, again, because I'm the only one that spoke out for this, term limits for elected officials. I think that's the only way. I don't think ward councilors
I
are
think
gonna
20
work,
years should be the
but
limit.
term limits. Term limits for our elected officials, I think, is critically important. But again, I support this budget.
It would be completely hypocritical of me to support term limits after I served
understand.
28 years in public life. However, I'm coming around to that point of view, Joe. So,
Thank you. And again, as I mentioned, as my colleagues have said, this has been, I think, a very positive budget process.
Thank you very
I
much.
believe tonight we'll make a motion, we'll support the budget, and it'll be passed.
Thank you, Council Bevilacqua. Council Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. This, in my service here, this was the most pleasant of budget seasons. There were no text messages to chiefs of staff. There was no drama. There was no packed house. There were no angry meetings in your office. It was very agreeable, very professional, and I appreciate your work and your staff's work and all the department heads. They really did a great job in their presentations and their work prior to seeing us. And also, I would just circle back to Councilor McGonigal's item on the modular classrooms. I'm hoping we can find a way to address that, as you said before.
we will come up with a proposal between now and Labor Day. That's my pledge to you.
Because it just seems like we're done out of space here. We need some more room. Not great for kids. You might say modular classrooms aren't the greatest, but they're better than a hallway. They're better than a locker room. They're better than a gymnasium when it's
Like what
supposed to be
Winston
one-on-one
Churchill
work.
said about democracy. It's the worst of all possible things. The only thing worse is everything else.
Yep.
I want to thank you, Councilor Barrett, and you, President Jordan, and who else was with you?
Vice President Mitchell.
Vice President Mitchison, for coming in to see me and working out the budget at a time. That's what has produced tonight a budget we're all in agreement with. So I thank the three of you for working with me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd
Thank you,
like to
Mr. President.
continue that in the future.
Thank you, Councilor Barrett. Vice President Mitchell has one more comment.
Yes, just a quick comment. So
Is it about the slideshow?
no, it is not. I should have recognized the efforts of the president of the city council, because you two had to do a lot of negotiation, and let's just say that you're not kissing cousins, okay? And you both rose to the occasion. And so
Thank you.
I give a lot of credit
I agree.
to both
Thank
the
you, Councilor-
president
Council
and
President Jordan,
to the
for working
mayor
with me.
for this effort.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So, yeah, I want to say thank you as well. I'm very pleased about the agreement to increase the road and sidewalk funding. You know, I've been advocating for this for years, particularly the last couple of years as council president, and looking for, a 5-year plan to continue this forward with the next mayor. I greatly appreciate that the Haverhill Fire Department is getting the 4th person at Water Street. I said this to you numerous times throughout the discussions, Mr. Mayor, and to my fellow colleagues. I kept hearing Ryan Fairbanks, I think, in my sleep, that the last several years it was, every year it's 99% good, 95% good. Why is the 1% that doesn't get funded year after year the fire department? So I'm thrilled that there will be the 4th person at Water Street, making them safer, making all of our citizens safer, as well as your commitment to hire the additional 4, even if we don't get the SAFER grant. We certainly all hope that we will get the SAFER grant, but we know last year we were disappointed. So that commitment from you was huge for me to be able to support this. You referenced the school department getting all their money. I know you kind of made that last 1.63 million contingent on the debt exclusion passing. So I guess I would like to thank all the people who voted in favor of the debt exclusion to make sure that our school is getting fully funded. I do agree with Councilor McGonigal on his stance on the modulars has been discussed tonight, and you and I discussed this a lot too, and the concern I've had that if we waited till January to order the modulars, they might not be here in time. So I appreciate your commitment that you stated to me and you stated again tonight that by September, by Labor Day, you'll make an action. Most likely it's going to be modulars. You'll look at the other options, but as you said, your efforts to reach out to the MSBA to get that timeline sped up doesn't look like it's going to happen. So this seems like it's going to be the route to go. So yeah, through all of it, I agree with the comments made by my fellow colleagues that, you know, in my, this is my sixth go around doing this. This has been the best budget, the most, the smoothest one. I also like to give a lot of credit to CFO Angel Perkins for her efforts throughout it and through everybody's. I know I reached out to her numerous times throughout this, asked a lot of questions, bounced things back and forth. She expressed some concern that, you know, I know part of what's making this work tonight, and I'm supporting it, but we did use $1 million, an extra $1 million of free cash, which brings us below the kind of the goal that we had. And there will be tough things going forward. One of the things that you alluded to is when a lot of our costs, health insurance being one, which is a major one, going up by 7%, other things going up by 7%, but we're only raising taxes by 2.5%, or we haven't. There's still that unused capacity, which the debt exclusion fortunately provided more capacity. So those will be some of the tough decisions going forward for the future mayor, for the future council, and for residents to understand that, you know, the things that they want, good schools, you know, well-paved roads, sidewalks, a well-staffed fire department, a well-staffed police department, all these things cost money, and there will be trade-offs and decisions to be made. So there'll be challenges going forward, but I'm very pleased with the budget we have tonight, and I'm going to be happy to support it.
Breaking your record, Mr. President.
I'm glad we were able to get it done.
He hasn't voted yet.
That's right, that's right. So do we have a motion to approve
So
the
moved.
order?
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Barrett, a second from Councilor Tui. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. Oops,
Vice
sorry.
Pre-
Could you just
Oh,
pull
I'm
that
sorry,
one,
that's right,
that
yeah.
one item out, please?
Okay, so, yeah, Councilor Bevilacqua mentioned this to me. So we're going to vote on the budget with the exception, we're going to take out from what we're going to vote on now, the increase to clerks union of $42,000. We will vote for everything but that, and then we will circle back to that, and Councilor Bevilacqua will abstain.
You know
Motion
what?
still good, Councilor Barrett and
Yeah,
Tui?
yes.
As
Go ahead.
I think about it, I should abstain on the school budget.
You should abstain on the school budget.
Yeah.
Well, you're not voting on it,
You're not
We're
voting.
not voting.
Oh,
so you're safe.
thinking I'm on the school committee. Sorry about that.
So the motion by Councilor Barrett and Councilor Tui, you're both good with taking out that one item?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchison?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
And I make a motion that we accept the clerk's budget?
Second.
Motion from Councilor Barrett and a second from Councilor McGonigal to accept the clerk's budget. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, can you just repeat the
Oh,
second?
the second motion is to
It's
vote
actually
in
to
favor of the
increase.
increase of the clerk's union of 42,000. The motion was made by Councilor Barrett, second by Councilor McGonigal.
Okay, thank you. Vice President Mitchison?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Counselor Bevilacqua?
Abstain.
Yep. And then Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes,
8 yeas, 0 nays, 1 abstention.
that passes. Next
Thank
item,
you very
please.
much, councilors. I really appreciate it. Appreciate working with you. And I'm only going to ask one thing, Councilor President Jordan, Vice President Mitchison, Councilor Barrett. It worked out great when the three of you came in. We worked things out. Let's do that in the future. There's a lot of things to talk about.
That sounds
Not
great.
just budget.
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, next item, please.
Caitlin M. Wright, City Clerk, submits order relating to election business. Order pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 41, Section 110A. The office of the City Clerk shall remain closed to the public for business and election purposes on all Saturdays to the same extent as if such Saturday were a legal holiday.
So moved.
Second?
Motion from Vice President Mitchison, second from Councilor Rogers. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchison?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item.
Robert E. Ward, DPW Director, submits proposed order for water and wastewater user rates. Order proposed water and wastewater user rates for approval with the FY24 budget.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilor Barrett, second from Councilor Sullivan. Councilor Bevilacqua.
I Question, Mr. Ward? Thank you. You know, I'm always concerned that the water and wastewater rates are climbing. The water rates are gonna go very high this year, much higher than in the past. Can we take some of the money from the funds that you have available, from the enterprise funds to be able to reduce the water rates for the water rate payers? How can we reduce that rate somewhat? I know we can't take it all away, but how can we reduce it? Can we take any of the enterprise funds and make it so that it becomes more affordable for the water user?
So for the record, Robert Ward, DPW Director. Good evening, Mr. President, members of the City Council. The water budget, we are already subsidizing the rate that I'm putting forth here to the tune of over $900,000. So I would strongly recommend against that. On the sewer side, where we have a balanced budget, but at the same time, over the next 3, 4, 5 years, we're gonna have to start spending a lot of money on some capital improvements, including the wastewater treatment plant upgrade. There's a loan order later on in the agenda for some sewer improvements. There's also some other regulatory requirements in the next few years that we're gonna have to pay for. So I would strongly recommend against it, just for that reason, because we don't wanna start spending over the next few years and get caught behind the 8 ball.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bevilacqua. I don't see any of the lights on, so I'll just say I agree with you. I know that we looked at the numbers at all the meetings, and there's some other significant raises coming in the future. It's just the reality of these costs, and I definitely do not favor kicking the can down the road anymore. So,
Can I just make one comment?
sure.
I think on the positive side, we've got a lot of work done over the last several years. We have an upgraded, all brand new drinking water plant. We've completed some pretty significant sewer and water improvements out in the streets, as I'm sure you've seen driving around the city. So I think we're really going in the right direction and trying to keep up with infrastructure improvements. So,
As well as those federal mandates.
as well as the federal mandates.
Seeing no other lights on, we had the motion to approve by Councilor Barrett and a second from Councilor Sullivan. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
No.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
No.
President Jordan?
Yes,
7 yeas, 2 nays.
that passes. Next
you.
item, please. Thank you.
The Haverhill License Commission has voted to adopt an additional class of liquor licenses and submits the appropriate order. Order that the City of Haverhill hereby accepts the following provisions of General Law, Chapter Section 12, relative to the sale of liquors and cordials by those licensed to sell wines and malt beverages. In any city or town which votes to accept the provisions of this paragraph, a common victualler who holds the license under this section to sell wines and malt beverages may, upon written approval, also sell liqueurs and cordials pursuant to said license, subject, however, to all other licensing provisions of this chapter.
Move for passage.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor McGonigal, a second from Councilor Lewandowski. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes,
9 yeas, 0 nays.
that passes. Next item, please.
Andrew K. Herlihy, Division Director, Community Development, submits proposed loan order for completing South Elm Street Como Bridge roadway improvements. Loan order $900,000 to complete the South Elm Como Bridge roadway improvements. Place on file for 10 days.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilor McGonigal, second from Councilor Tui to place this on file for 10 days. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Next item.
Robert E. Ward, DPW Director, submits proposed loan order and authority to file to fund cost of engineering and construction improvements to 4 of the city's pumping stations. Loan order $2,100,000 for improvements to Coffin Ave, Danielle Drive, Alvanos Drive, and Hanover Street sewer pumping stations. Place on file for 10 days. Authority to file. Mayor is authorized to file applications and execute agreements regarding this loan order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilor Barrett, second from Councilor Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That'll be placed on file for 10 days. Next item.
Andrew K. Herlihy, Division Director, Community Development, submits recommendation of Haverhill Historic Commission to create a park as a part of the Beck development by Procopio Companies at the intersection of Railroad Ave, South Elm Street, and the Como Bridge in Bradford. And Dan Spears, Task Force Chair, will be addressing the council on this decision. Order that the Haverhill City Council supports the naming of the park property located at 236 South Elm Street, Assessors Map 711, Block 4, Lot 1, owned by the Haverhill Park Foundation Incorporated as First Nations Park.
So move.
Second.
Motion from Councilor Barrett, second from Councilor Tui. Mr. Spears, you wish to speak?
Thank you. I must say that I was very impressed by the budget process myself. It was quite interesting. Over the years, we've seen some very interesting budget meetings. I'm here wearing two hats tonight. One is as the Port Laureate of Haverhill, and the mission there is to promote the culture and arts and social history of Haverhill through encouraging people to appreciate the history and the events of the city, as well as to encourage events where people can participate. Our next event is next week from tomorrow night, next Wednesday night, at AC Media Studios in downtown Haverhill at 7 o'clock. We'll have a presentation of a famous poet, Brian Franco, along with local people who will come in to read their own particular poetry. We do this on the third Wednesday of each month, in summer and in the autumn, in order to bring people together. At our very first meeting this year, we had a whole group of new people from Washington Heights, people from the Dominican Republic. We brought all these people together not just to read poetry, but to express their musical talents and so forth. So if you get a chance, either watch it on TV or come down and see us. The second hat that I'm wearing here is as the chairman of the Native American Commemorative Task Force. And as you know, one of the missions of the task force is to celebrate the shared history and culture of the area in which we live. All of you sitting here tonight, you're probably under the impression that this is a tradition you've had for about 350, maybe 375 years. I have news for you. It actually goes back 13,000 years. Native people, the indigenous people of this area, came here every April, June, and May and had a celebration here along the banks of the Merrimack River. Why? Because there is a fish called a sturgeon that comes here to Haverhill every single year. This fish is over 200 million years old. It's a living fossil. We have fossils that are 67 million years old that are almost identical to the skeleton of these fish today. They grow 6 to 8 feet long. They weigh 600 pounds. I have here a book about the indigenous people in which one of the pictures here shows the fishing dams that were built by the native people along the Merrimack River long thousands of years before the settlers first came to this area. Now this piece of land we're talking about where the Como Bridge is, the old Scalan land, that's a place that is a heritage site. From just above the Como Bridge to just below the Basileir Bridge, this stretch of water is a National Wildlife Heritage Area. It's the only place in the world where the short-nosed, bottlenose sturgeon come every single year to spawn. Do you know how unique that is? Every year, for thousands of years, this fish has come right here to Haverhill. These are the first original residents of Haverhill. I'm not saying they were the first to hold a council meeting. That honor belongs to the native people, the Abenaki, the Pinnacook, the Wabanaki, the native indigenous people, the Paleo Indians who came here 13,000 years ago, right after the last ice age. And how do we know that? Because they caught so many fish in this river every single year that they had these fish they caught in these dams. They would build weirs and smoking towers to smoke these fish. And every year they would come back to the same place, build more fires. And you know what they did when they were carbonizing these fish, when they were smoking these fish? Carbonizing, dating. We dig down real deep. we'll find artifacts and ashes 7 to 13,000 years old. And as we come closer to the surface, we find artifacts and ashes and carbon dating materials from shards to pottery that are lesser years old, closer to our own time. We know that 4,000 years ago, the Abenaki and Pennacook would come here along the banks of the Merrimack River. And how do we know it's here? Because it's the only place where the sturgeon came. They didn't come down at Newburyport. They didn't go all the way up to Lowell. These fish were smart. They came to Haverhill. So here they are every year. So if we, this park, the reason I thought of the name First Nations is not only does it celebrate, but this is the first place where the nations of the future colonial America, the future United States of America, became a gathering place for people. And when the colonials arrived, when the settlers arrived, they found these nets, they found these weirs, they found this pottery. They knew that the native people were fishing here. And you know what they did? Our original settlers? They took over 1.5 million pounds of sturgeon in the very first years they were here. They smoked these sturgeons, they put them into barrels made with the wood right here, and they shipped these fish off to navies, well, not a navy, but to the fishermen who would go out from the ports. This Haverhill, think of all the first here that were here. The first gathering place of the native peoples in New England. The first Macy Day Parade, the first Macy's. I mean, my gosh, think about it. The first place where they brewed an ale so strong, talking about malt beverages, this is a true story. The first ale that was brewed in Haverhill was so strong that the local officials then kicked the tavern owner out. He said his ale was too strong and people were getting too drunk. So what did he do? He went down to Nantucket, where he built another tavern, and he sold Nathaniel. He sold more ale down there. So the drunkards are now in Nantucket. The sober people are now in Haverhill. First Nation is the first place where people gathered. First Nation is the birth of the American industry. This swath of the valley that we live in is the first industrial swath of land in America, the birthplace of American industry. One of the first bills of sale ever signed between the settlers, Ward and Oswald, and the native people, the Pennacook, is right here. We have a copy of it. It was signed just up the street on Water Street. There's a plaque there. First in the nation. First place. So that's why I'm proposing that we name this new park First Nations Park. And I am also writing a poem called Sturgeon Spring, because if we get this name, one of the things I'm going to do is to really encourage that every single year we have a Sturgeon Spring Festival here in Haverhill to remind the world that we are the birthplace of American industry, the birthplace of the American nation, and the birthplace of the Valley of the Poets, because American poetry began here, right here. The first published poet, Anne Bradstreet, 1567. The first black woman poet, Phyllis Wheatley, whose poems were published in the Essex Journal, which is actually published in Newburyport. The first poem is about the first mayor of Newburyport. He's buried there now to this day. We have Robert Frost, James C. Whittier, Jack Kerouac, Valley of the Poets, first in the nation. So I'm asking that we call this new park First Nations Park, and that we lay the groundwork, just a thought, that someone will come along who will be so inspired that we'll have a spring festival every year, the Sturgeon Spring. And maybe we can go down to the park, sing songs, have people get together, and buy some herring on a stick.
I'll make a motion
Thank
to
you.
approve the naming of this park as First Nation Park.
Okay, we do have, City Solicitor Cox he was weighing in, that we did get that amendment from him. He's saying procedurally, we need a motion to delete the following line. You know, I know Madam Clerk read in the amended motion, but I asked if that was sufficient. City Solicitor Cox, do you want to speak on it rather than me trying to say what you're telling me?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. So you have an order that's before you, that's on your agenda. The proper course would be for somebody to move approval of that, and then for somebody to amend it by deleting the order as submitted and substituting the amended order in place thereof.
So I'll make a motion that we delete the original language and substitute it with the amended language that reads that the Haverhill City Council supports the naming of the park property located at 236 South Elm Street, Assessors Map 711, Block 4, Lot 1, owned by the Haverhill Park Foundation, Inc., as First Nations Park. That's the motion.
So
Second?
moved.
Motion from Counselor Sullivan, second from Counselor Barrett. Madam Clerk, call the roll on that, please.
Vice President Mitchell.
Yes.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua.
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski.
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal.
Yes.
Counselor Rogers.
Yes.
Counselor Tui.
Yes.
President Jordan.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Counselor Sullivan, did you want to add anything, or are you good?
Well, I just would like to add one thing, that this is a huge, big deal, because this is the area that's going to abut the Procopio development and be across from the train station and all of it. This is a transformational park, and we don't have to accept this park. Make clear that this is still Procopio's property. We do not accept this park until it's completed to our specifications, and we do have some say in those in those specifications. And that's the job of the Haverhill Park Foundation, of which I'm a member, with Tom Wiley, who's here, and Deanne, and Vinnie Ulett, and Andrew, I believe. Andrew, you on this one? Haverhill? Yeah, you're on everyone. So, you know, it's going to be really beautiful when it's finished, and when it is finished, when it's completed, at that point, we will actually accept the property, and then it will become public property and our responsibility to take care of. Thank you. And thank you, Dan, for everything you do and for an excellent presentation.
Thank you very much. One quick thing to add is that when you talk about money and financing improvements to the park after it becomes part of the city property, I've been in communication with the National Park Service in terms of grants that are available. And they do have a grant that's available for us to add any kind of signage or so forth. So should the park become actual city property, then I will pursue that with the council's permission, of course.
And we now have grant writers, more money for grant writers in our budget, so there you go. Counselor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. President. And, you know, I didn't vote for the Procopio project, but this is a great highlight for it despite that, and I will support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Spears. Great presentation, and thank you for your passion for everything you had to say. Do we need to vote on another thing? Okay. Second, the original motion, going back now that we have the deletion sufficient. I think the original motion on the amended order was made by Counselor Barrett, seconded by Counselor Tui. Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Vice President Mitchell.
Yes.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua.
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski.
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal.
Yes.
Counselor Rogers.
Yes.
Counselor Tui.
Yes.
President Jordan.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Thank you. Madam Clerk, next item.
Abatement report for month of May 2023, filed by Christine Webb, City Assessor.
Move to be received and placed on file.
Second?
Motion from Counselor Sullivan, second from Counselor Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
That's accepted and placed on file. Next item, please.
Petition from Mass Electric Company doing business as National Grid, requesting underground electric conduits from Lamoille Ave and Winchester Street, Plan 307-63299, hearing June 27th of 2023.
So moved.
Moved. Second?
Motion from Vice President Mitchell, second from Counselor Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. That'll be heard on June 27th. Next item, please.
Non-confirming appointments, Water Wastewater Abatement Board, Lisa DeMayo, 15 Lakewood Terrace, to expire June 13th of 2026.
So moved.
Second?
Motion from Counselor Bevilacqua, second from Counselor Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
That's accepted and placed on file. Next item.
Central District Parking Commission, Kayla Rennie, 67 Washington Street, to expire June 13th of 2026.
So moved.
Second?
Motion from Counselor Bevilacqua, second from Counselor Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
That's accepted. Next item.
Petitions, Paul A. Bergman, PE, representing Fantini Bakery, submits application for a zoning amendment for their parcels located at 370 Washington Street, with most of their land in the commercial neighborhood zone, and requests, due to expansion, to convert the residential urban density portion of the lot to commercial neighborhood. Refer to Planning Board and Council hearing August 22nd of 2023.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Motion from Counselor Sullivan, second from Counselor McGonigal. All in favor?
Aye.
That'll be heard on August 22nd. Next item.
Event applications with police approval. Event 23-22, Devon Allen for Vintage Bazaar New England requests to hold a crafts and antique show with food and music at Kimball Farm, 725 East Broadway, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., June 24th and 25th.
Move for passage.
Second?
Motion from Counselor Sullivan, second from Counselor Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Next item, please.
Event 23-21, Carroll Island for UTEC Haverhill, requesting to have salsa dancing on the boardwalk behind 76 Merrimack Street, Saturday, July 8th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., and request any additional fees be waived.
Move for approval?
Second.
With fees
Motion,
waived.
motion from Counselor Barrett, second from Counselor Rogers. The requesting fees be waived. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item.
Event 23-23, Maria Serenodis for Hellenic Orthodox Church, requesting to hold a dinner fundraiser at the church, 154 Winter Street, on June 24th of 6 p.m. to 12 a.m., and also request any additional fees be waived.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Motion from Vice President Mitchell, second from Counselor Sullivan. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item.
Tag days with police approval, Haverhill Lions Club, September 23rd.
So moved.
Second?
Motion from Counselor Bevilacqua, second from Counselor Barrett. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Next item.
One-day liquor license with police approval, LCDL 23-13 Ishmael West for a beer and wine license for his wedding at the Citizen Center on 10 Welcome Street, August 19th from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. Related comment from License Commission to table request to their July meeting and place on council agenda in the interim.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion from Counselor Barrett and a second from Counselor Tui to accept this pending the approval of the License Commission. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item.
Taxi limousine license with police approval, TLLB 23-4, taxi business, New England Health Transportation Incorporated, 143 Essex Street, Suite 721, 5 vehicles.
So moved.
Motion from Counselor McGonigal, second from Counselor Lewandowski. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Next item.
Junk dealer license with police approval, Junk 23-1, Jared Billingsley, Winfield Alloy Incorporated, 81 Hale Street.
So moved.
So moved.
Motion from Counselor, is it Tui? Second from Counselor Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Next item.
Junk 23-3, Michael Malvers, Haverhill Steel, 115 Hale Street.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Counselor Barrett, second from Counselor McGonigal. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes.
Pool tables, PBYD 23-1, Haverhill Brewery Incorporated, 1 pool table, 100 Washington Street.
So moved.
Moved.
Motion from Counselor Barrett, second from Counselor McGonigal. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Next item.
Buy and sell secondhand articles with police approval, 106056 All Saint Parish, 120 Bellevue Avenue.
Move for passage.
Second.
Motion from Counselor McGonigal, second from Counselor Rogers. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Next item.
Order transfer 15,000 from refuse salaries and wages account to refuse recycling account.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Counselor McGonigal, second from Counselor Barrett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item.
Order transfer 1 million from free cash to stabilization fund.
So moved.
Motion from Counselor Rogers, second from Counselor Barrett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers? Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item.
Returning budget orders all submitted May 15th, 2023 and placed on file May 23rd of 2023. Document 55, Mayor Fiorentini submits orders concerning appropriations for the fiscal year beginning July 1st of 2023. Document 55B, orders City Council in accordance with the City Ordinance, Chapter 83, set the annual budget for the following revolving funds: recreation and youth activities, $175,000; Veterans Memorial Skating Rink, $456,000; Citizen Center rental, $25,000. Council on Aging activities, $50,000. Wood School daycare, $100,000. Municipal open space management, $100,000. Document 55-C, order city council to transfer, actually, you know what?
So move.
Vote on the first one.
Vote
yeah.
on the first
Yeah.
one, yeah.
So move.
Second.
Motion from Councilor Barrett, second from Councilor McGonigal. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua,
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan,
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski,
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal,
Yes.
Counselor Rogers,
Yes.
Counselor Tui,
Yes.
President Jordan,
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item, please.
Document 55C, order city council vote to transfer $732,304 in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 44, Section 63, sale of real estate proceeds other than by tax title to the capital projects account to fund the following fiscal 2024 capital projects: highways, facility and other improvements, park barn rehabilitation, $15,000. Infrastructure, parking lots, Washington Street and Wingate Street, $50,000. Replace bricks in downtown sidewalks, $10,000. Winter and White Street sidewalk repair, $250,000. Land improvements, shade trees for parks, $25,000. Highway total, $350,000. Inspections, equipment, cell phones and iPads, $20,000. Inspections total, $20,000. IT equipment, data transformation, IT, $63,880. Microsoft tenant consolation, IT, $83,564. Hardware-based multi-factor, $30,820. Authentication, IT, GIS rework, IT, $104,200. Wi-Fi overhaul, IT, $31,120. Computer software, Active Directory overhaul, IT, $48,720. IT total, $362,304. Grand total, $732,304.
So
Move for
moved.
passage.
Motion from Councilor Barrett, second from Councilor McGonigal. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua, Counselor Sullivan,
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski,
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal,
Yes.
Counselor Rogers,
Yes.
Counselor Tui,
Yes.
President Jordan,
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item, please.
Document 55D, order as part of the fiscal year 2024 annual budget for the sum of $14,029,287 be appropriated to operate the wastewater department for items marked as appropriated on the attached, and that $14,681,925 come from wastewater revenue, and that $0 come from available retained earnings, and that $652,638 be appropriated in the general fund and funded from wastewater receipts.
So moved.
Second?
Motion from Councilor McGonigal, second from Councilor Barrett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua,
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan,
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski,
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal,
Yes.
Counselor Rogers,
Yes.
Counselor Tui,
Yes.
President Jordan,
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item, please.
Document 55E, order that as part of the fiscal year 2024 annual budget, the sum of $13,116,358 be appropriated to operate the water department for items marked as appropriated on the attached, and that $12,429,755 come from water revenue, and that $906,766 come from available retained earnings, and that $220,163 be appropriated in the general fund and funded from water receipts.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilor McGonigal, second from Councilor Tui. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell,
Yes.
Counselor Barrett,
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua,
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan,
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski,
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal,
Yes.
Counselor Rogers,
Yes.
Counselor Tui,
Yes.
President Jordan,
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item, please.
Document 55F, order sum of $235,706,663 be appropriated as designated and funded in the following manner: $5,180,341 free cash, $220,163 water receipts, $652,638 wastewater receipts, $100,000 transfer from other available funds, $229,553,521 taxation and other receipts.
So moved.
Motion from Councilor McGonigal, second from Councilor Barrett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell.
Yes.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Counselor Bevilacqua.
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski.
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal.
Yes.
Counselor Rogers.
Yes.
Counselor Tui.
Yes.
President Jordan.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item, please.
Document 10M, Robert E. Ward, DPW Director, submits proposed loan order for asset management plan, grant, Phase 2. Document 57B, authorize mayor to file applications and execute agreement. Document 12C, loan order $250,000 to fund Phase 2 of asset management plan for city's water, sewer, and stormwater assets, filed May 24th.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Vice President Mitchinson, second by Councilor Barrett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
I have a question.
Sorry, go ahead, Councilor Bevelacqua.
Mr. Watt, could I ask you a question? I'm not sure if the 5-year forecast for the water rates applies to this loan order or the next loan order.
The 5-year does not apply to this loan order.
Okay, stay up there for the next one then,
You bet.
if you would.
All set, Councilor?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, the motion was made by Vice President Mitchinson, second from Councilor Barrett. Please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchinson?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevelacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item, please.
Document 10L, Robert E. Ward, DPW Director, submits combined sewer system and water distribution system improvements, proposed loan order, and authority to file. Document 57, authorize mayor to file applications and execute agreements. Document 12-B, loan order $10,348,200 for combined sewer system and water distribution system improvements, filed May 24th.
So moved.
Motion
Second.
from Councilor Barrett, second from Councilor McGonigal. Councilor Bevelacqua.
Thank you. As I've talked about earlier and we've talked before, I'm just very concerned about our water rate increases, and I'm looking at the 5-year projections, and we're showing that in 2023, it's going to remain pretty much what it is for that 1 year of 43, but then it jumps up to $60 increase in 2024, and then it drops down to $20 in 2026. I would hope that we could better structure this so that the taxpayer, the water rate users don't get hit with that high increase. Again, we're adding this to the increased wastewater rates. We're going to add this to increase taxpayer rates, and I'm hoping that we can better structure this so that you get the funding you need, but we're not killing the water rate user, because that's quite a jump, in my opinion.
Yeah, in the out years of the 5-year forecast, we look at it every single year.
I understand
And
that.
we can certainly run some different scenarios with it.
All right, so I would vote for this with that understanding that we're going to address it, because we're going to go from 43 to 60 to 34 to 20 to 22, and that's $60. First 43 is going to be a lot of money increase, and then we jump to 60. That's even greater, and I think that we need to help the rate payer as much as we possibly can.
Next year, as part of the budget process, we'll be back. I'll be back. Hopefully, I'll be back to see whoever's going to be in the seats here. I assume many of you will be, but I'll be back to see you at the city budget hearings, and we can run through that 5-year
And again,
forecast.
one of the things that I recognize is that the state gives you very little money. When I read the actual percentage of the loan order that's actually reimbursed by the state, is literally pennies on the dollar. So that it's a mandate by the state and the federal government that don't recognize that they have an obligation in helping cities and towns support water and wastewater rate increases by making their payments available to us, so that we can help reduce the impact to the local taxpayer. And that's something that I think, I've said this at every year, as you know, and I appreciate your support and your good work, and I want to commend you for looking out for our water, so we never have a problem that other cities and towns have with diminished water capacity or water quality. And I mean that sincerely, as you know, we've spoken before. But there's got to be an obligation on the part of the state and the federal government to help us, because cities and towns can't continue to put this burden on the back of the taxpayer when they're funding everything else. So thank you.
I agree.
Thank you. So the original motion was made by Councilor Barrett with a second from Councilor McGonigal. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchinson?
Yes.
Counselor Barrett?
Yes.
Counselor Bevelacqua?
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan?
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski?
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal?
Yes.
Counselor Rogers?
Yes.
Counselor Tui?
Yes.
President Jordan?
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Document 9J, Mayor Fiorentini submits memorandum of agreement and salary ordinance between the City of Haverhill and the Dispatchers Group. Document 34D, memorandum of agreement between City of Haverhill and Dispatchers Group. Document 35C, ordinance regarding salaries, Dispatchers Group, filed May 17th.
moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilor Bevelacqua, second from Councilor Rogers. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell.
Yes.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Counselor Bevelacqua.
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski.
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal.
Yes.
Counselor Rogers.
Yes.
Counselor Tui.
Yes.
President Jordan.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes. Next item, please.
Document 15D, ordinance regarding vehicles and traffic at handicap parking for 461 Washington Street and Auburn Street adjacent to 29-31 4th Ave, filed May 17th.
So moved.
Passage.
Motion from Counselor Barrett, second from Counselor McGonigal. All in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Next item, please.
I'm sorry, who was the second on that one?
That was Counselor McGonigal was the second.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Document 56, Ordinance City Code, Chapter 222, Streets and Sidewalks be amended by deleting Article 12, Outdoor Dining, and inserting in place thereof Article 12, Outdoor Dining as stated, and be deleting Article 16, Outdoor Dining Addition in its entirety, filed May 24th, related communications from William Cox, City Solicitor.
Motion from Counselor Rogers.
Did we have a
This one needs to be further amended.
Yes.
further amendment on
I
this?
believe
Yeah.
you want to do that, John, anyway.
Can I take it, John? Vice
right
President
here.
Richardson?
Johnny, right here.
Upon further review of the ordinance as filed, I would recommend that it be amended by deleting the following for 222-67D. The purpose of this article is to promote and encourage outdoor dining in the downtown area of the city and shall be interpreted in accordance with that intent. And so I recommend that that be deleted. And I want to give credit to a super citizen, Dana Lovell, for actually finding this issue. Thank you very much. And so I make that motion.
Second?
Motion from Vice President Mitchell, second from
Is
Counselor
that
Barrett.
why Kenny can't sit next to you tonight?
The motion was made by Vice President Mitchell, seconded by Counselor Barrett. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Vice President Mitchell.
Yes.
Counselor Barrett.
Yes.
Counselor Bevelacqua.
Yes.
Counselor Sullivan.
Yes.
Counselor Lewandowski.
Yes.
Counselor McGonigal.
Yes.
Counselor Rogers.
Yes.
Counselor Tui.
Yes.
President Jordan.
Yes.
9 yeas, 0 nays.
That passes, and Mr. Lovell will be available for autographs after the meeting concludes. Next item, please.
That is our last item this evening.
Any announcements?
Movie adjourned.
Motion to adjourn from Counselor Sullivan, seconded by Counselor Lewandowski. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Oh, wait, one thing. I'm sorry. The eye in the sky, Mr. Chris Bowden from HC Media caught a little error. Mr. Spears spoke earlier. He mentioned that the River Bards is tomorrow night at Harbor Place. It is actually, according to Mr. Bowden, Wednesday the 21st at Harbor Place.
Mr. Tui was going
Don't
to.
show up. Don't show up on the wrong night, okay?
Thank you.
We are adjourned.
Thank
Good
you.
night.